true. We pray you keep us married, faithful to you. Down from the hill, down to the world go I, remembrance still how the bright blue eagles fly. Through joys and tears, through the laughing years, we sing our battle song. Win or lose, it's a school we choose. It's the place where we belong. Married for you, for your white and blue. We pray you keep us married, constantly true. We pray you keep us married, faithful to you.
The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour. Radyo Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Sa The Blue Eagle kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, tulong at tulong. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Time out. Arcade Sports continues to Arcade Sports, where we take you right into the action with the highlights, insights, and analysis of the sports scene in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. With your hosts, Anthony Perez and Mookie Borja. Katipunan. Game on.
right, what is up, Blue Eagle Nation? It's Thursday afternoon again, and you know what's happening, you know what's going down. This is Anthony, bringing you another exciting edition of Radyo Katipunan Sports. We are live via RK on Facebook, on YouTube, and 87.9 on your FM band. And joining me as always is the young fella, Mookie B, who had a very relaxing weekend by the beach.
Yeah.
But now he's back in the studio joining
Back
me.
to talk sports. We got some Ateneo games this past weekend too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's right, Mookie. And Mookie and I, before we get right into it, we'd just like to give a few shout outs to some teams, some of our Blue Eagles and Lady Eagles who made their UAAP season 86 season debut over the weekend and up to the middle of this week. So first up on our list, of course, our shout out to our guests last week.
Yeah.
The Ateneo men's football team who had a level score with the Adamson Falcons in their opening game of season 86.
They nearly blew it, but then Kofi Aggie came to the rescue. He was a guest last week. Very happy to see him score his first goal of the season in their first game. I watched a replay of their game. They got off to a rocky start, but then they were able to settle in, and thank God for that last minute goal, because I think it would have been a really bad start to the season. After coming, we talked about last week after coming off a finals run. But yeah, to get points on the board to start their season, that's good enough, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna be more motivated this weekend.
I remember Andy Rojas. He was saying that, it's easy having Kofi out there because all you have to do is lob it up top,
Yeah.
cross it up top, then he's gonna head it. And then true enough, he scored via header.
Yep.
So it pays to have someone at least
Right.
6'4", 6'5".
He kind of called it last week.
He did. So, okay, Mook, we'll just give a preview of what's happening for our Blue Eagles and Lady Eagles over this Saturday, February 24. So it's going to be a packed schedule, starting with our tennis teams. So our women's lawn tennis team, they did drop a few of their opening matches. So sana makabawi sila as they face UP at 8 a.m. on Saturday. And then followed by our men's lawn tennis team, who, by the way, had a real good showing against
Haven't
LaSalle.
lost, I think. Yeah, they haven't lost this season. So
Yeah.
can't wait for them to keep that momentum going against Adamson.
Right, so 11 a.m. that is going to happen. And then it's going to be all volleyball in the afternoon because our Ateneo men's volleyball team will square off against NU at 12 noon at the MOA Arena. So wala pang talo yan, our men's volleyball
Their
team.
first game they won.
Yeah. But on the other hand, our women's volleyball team, it's a bit of a shocking loss. It's
Right.
their first loss to UE in I think over 14
A lot,
years.
yeah, a lot of seasons.
So, sana they
Right.
can
And
get
they're
it
up
back.
against NU, who did lose their opening day matchup against UST last week. So hopefully they can, upset NU, because NU is really one of the favorites this year.
Right. And then over in the late afternoon, so our men's football team made their debut on Sunday. Now it's time for our women's football team to hit the UP Diliman Football Stadium as they go against the De La Salle women's football team. That's gonna be action
rival game.
And then finally at 5 p.m., we are gonna have our Ateneo softball team. Our softball girls will face off against UST over at the UP baseball field naman. So just right across
Right
from
across.
the UP
Yep.
football stadium. So again, action-packed weekend for our Blue Eagles and Lady Eagles, and we wish them all the best from
Right.
our end.
Can't wait for the UAAP to get back. These past few weeks we've been focusing a lot on basketball or international sports, so I can't wait to get back to Blue Eagle sports.
Yes. And Mookie and I will be covering that.
Yes.
We'll be tuning into that and
Yeah.
giving you guys all the scores, the schedules, updates, whatever we can,
Right.
whatever info we can find.
And
on
hopefully
our-
guests.
Yeah,
From
hopefully.
respective teams. Hopefully we can get some of the football players back. Maybe volleyball players as well. So
Right. That's gonna be exciting.
Yep.
All right. So we just finished our news around the Blue Eagles nest, but guys, stay tuned because right after this break, Mookie and I will be recapping the very uneventful
Yeah.
NBA All-Star Weekend. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Time out. Arcade Sports continues right after this. Tara na't simulan ang inyong umaga sa mga magagandang refleksyon tungkol sa ating buhay at pananampalataya. Kasama sina Father J. Boy Gonzalez at Father Nono Alfonso ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, Binibining Risa Singson Kaupeng ng Feast Magazine, Father Fiel Pareha mula sa Archdiocese ng San Fernando, Pampanga, at Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. Dito sa Kapet Pandasal sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Are you feeling sore? We can make that better. Tune in to the Ateneo Senior High School's first radio program, Soar, the Seniors On Air Radio. Don't change that channel yet, because Soar is ready to put the you in youth. Soar, Seniors On Air, here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Alright guys, we are back here live on Radyo Katipunan Sports. Earlier, Mookie and I just gave you a quick preview of what's to come for our Blue Eagles and Lady Eagles for this action-packed Saturday of UAAP Season 86. But now, it's time to go to a deep dive of, you know, we're all basketball fans here, Mookie. But however, this, you know, mid-season showcase for the past number of years has been quite lackluster, to say the least. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, there have been some highlights, some fun moments. As Mookie and I were texting about this, guys, and he said, you know what? All-Star Weekend 2024 was mostly a dud with another atrocious main event.
Yeah.
So, what we're gonna do here, Mook, is we'll recap the side shows,
Okay.
the All-Star game itself, plus give our recommendations to
Yeah.
improve the, you know, again, the lackluster mid-season
They
showcase.
definitely need improvements and recommendations. at
Fresh
this point.
ideas.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what we're gonna do. That's what
Okay.
we're gonna do. Hopefully, Adam Silver is listening. Okay, but first, let's start off with the slam dunk contest, Mook, which I think Mac McClung saved the dunk contest again by not allowing Jaylen Brown to win, because if that had happened, that
Yeah.
would have been a travesty.
Yeah. He got a lot. Jaylen Brown got a lot of like praise for joining the dunk contest. You know, I think he's the first All-Star in I think a lot of seasons to headline the dunk contest. However, his performance was in any standards of the dunk contest pretty bad.
Just no.
Very,
Some of the most basic dunks.
the
you'll ever
worst
see.
thing you can be in All-Star Weekend is cringe. And Jaylen Brown was kind of cringe during his performance. But, you know, yeah, you're right. Mac McClung did a really good job. He had the dunk where he let go of the ball and
The double tap.
The double tap.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think a
like
lot of people got that, but I think that's pretty impressive. Not people don't realize how hard that is to you know, really purposefully not hold the ball and then grab it again.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So he did a good job there. However, you know, I think my take on the slam dunk contest is I think we've just seen all the dunks there is
From
Like,
NBA players.
from NBA players, and we'll get to, you know, the how we can improve the slam dunk. But then, like, these players, they grew up watching, you know, Vince Carter, Jason Richardson, even Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Something as, and they made that, you know, they made it a spectacle, which, you know, what All-Star Weekend is supposed to be about. These are supposed to take a showcase for all these, you know, great players to show what, you know, they can do. Vince Carter, you know, spoiled us. I think not ruined the dunk contest. A lot of people say that was the peak of the dunk contest when he won. But, you know, if like 20 years later, Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine showed up and they gave a pretty good show as well. So, I think it's just run its course as an event.
Mm-hmm.
The players aren't really as creative as they once were. You know, you can only do the between the legs dunk or 360 windmill dunk
How
so
many
many
times?
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been doing that since in terms of the windmill, they've been doing that since the 80s. So,
Right.
a lot for the audience. It's not really nice to see anymore. Like they've sawa na sila basically. So, Mac McClung, back-to-back winner who isn't part of an NBA roster
Mm-hmm.
is also a problem. The lack of names to join the dunk
Yes.
contest. But overall, my take is I think they really just need to either get rid of the dunk contest as a whole.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Would it still help if like a huge name? I'm not talking all-star level like Jaylen Brown, but a huge name, knock knock LeBron James, would compete in the dunk contest because
Right.
for years and years they've been saying, "Oh, the guy's just dodging the contest."
Yeah.
Or but
I mean, he promised,
he did.
all
Or even
those
a
years
John
ago.
Morant,
I know.
that type
Yeah.
of level, that level of a player. Because if you think about it, like all the guys in the GOAT conversation did participate in
Right.
the dunk contest.
Yeah.
MJ, Kobe,
Kobe.
he won it.
Mm-hmm.
So would it still, warrant a little bit of saving if a big name did join?
I think it definitely will get more people to watch it again. I could think of the four players ideally to headline a slam dunk competition. And I think it's pretty much unanimous. It's John Morant, Anthony Edwards.
Same.
He's up there. Who else would you have the other two?
Because it's so hard to it's so hard to say, but to classify them as like Jaylen Brown,
Okay,
excellent in-game dunker,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're dunking in a contest,
right.
there's showmanship goes up the needle,
Yeah,
creativity goes up the needle.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a game, all you have to do is put a guy on a poster.
right.
You're-
And he's
that's
done those a lot of times. It's really hard. That's the thing with the dunk contest when the creativity doesn't match people's expectations.
Yes.
Like when Aaron Gordon put a mascot on a hoverboard and made him spin around.
Yes.
That's like peak creative mind.
Yes.
And art basically because when he nailed the dunk, people that's the best thing they saw in All-Star Weekend.
You know what, this brings to mind. Now we're thinking of solutions, right? Possible suggestions. I remember because I've covered a couple of 3x3 events, and the last one was the Asia 3x3 tour last year. And I noticed like there would be several teams competing in the 3x3 circuit. However, when it came time for the dunk contest, the players who played throughout the tournament weren't participating in the dunk contest. How it was pro dunkers who
Right.
participated in the dunk contest.
There.
So maybe that's what if fans want to see the showmanship, the creativity, maybe you have to look for it from someone else doing that. And I'm thinking, you know what? NBA, maybe it's time to invite pro dunkers like Jordan Kilgannon, those
Yeah.
guys who were, they can reach how many millions of
Right.
views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe those are the guys who you want to, bring to the dunk
That's
contest.
that's the most straightforward solution because like a showcase, right? So you want the best dunkers, not just in the NBA, because you want to get views. Their problems with ratings and views. They want to get views up, clicks,
Yes.
and I think inviting those dunkers who may be popular on YouTube, maybe popular in those niche basketball channels, but to an NBA audience, especially in like Indiana, for example,
Yeah.
where the All-Star game was held, they're not really maybe familiar with Jordan Kilgannon or the rest of his peers in that dunking community. So for them to maybe be there and then showcase what they can do, because Jordan Kilgannon has been invited to the dunk contest. He's done like skit dunks. He's in the middle of the slam dunk contest, and people are like, okay, why don't we just invite him? Why can't he join this competition? Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a competition, but at the same time, you just want to put on a good show,
You're right.
which they haven't done since Aaron Gordon last joined, when I
Right.
think he was up against Derek Jones Jr.
And then Aaron Gordon was robbed the last
Yeah.
time he joined the dunk contest. So it's
Yeah.
like these things just keep on hurting
Mm-hmm.
the competition that everyone wants to expect to
Right.
be. It's a dunk contest. It should be electrifying.
Mhm.
It should be thunderous. But
Right.
it does.
Like you want your jaw to drop when you see
Yes.
a dunk. It wasn't really. There was just one dunk I was impressed by the Toppin brother during the slam dunk. It was a 360 between the legs. I think that
Yeah,
was his
that was
second.
good.
Yeah, I think
That
that
was
was
good.
good. But then you see the score. I think he just got a 47 thereabouts, and I don't think that was right. I think that deserved the quality of the dunk contest. Looking at it, I think that deserved a 50. You have Jalen Brown jumping over Kai Cenat and
Oh my.
failing to do so.
Even Jaime Haggis' first dunk leaping over Shaq.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That could have merited at least a 48 or a
I know.
49.
That's why. But then how many people have jumped over Shaq? That's the thing.
Right.
That's the thing. People have seen all of these iterations of dunks before, so now, when they see it, no matter how impressive that is, no matter how impressive, how high he cleared his, legs over Shaq or Taco Fall or any tall person, they're just gonna say, "Oh, we've seen that before. We've seen people jump over someone before." So
Okay.
it's not as interesting. So, invite these amateur dunkers to participate, and it's well within their right. Like, of course, I think the dunkers will be very much happy to get that platform.
Yeah.
All-Star weekend. So yeah, that for next year it's gonna be in San Francisco. Big city, landmark for entertainment,
Yeah.
and a big audience is gonna watch that. So ideas, because this Indiana All-Star weekend was like what you said at the start, was a dud. Really was.
It was. You know what, Mok? I can't help but remember. You can look at this. You can look this up on YouTube now. So in the early '90s, Foot Locker was organizing dunk contests featuring athletes from various disciplines. I'm talking about guys like Deion Sanders when he
yeah.
was still playing baseball.
I think Mike Conley's dad was
Mike
part
Conley Sr., who was an Olympic track
right.
athlete.
Yeah.
And he was able to jump from I think right inside the free throw line. So I don't know, maybe invite, athletes from various disciplines
Right.
to showcase their stuff, showcase their athleticism.
Yeah.
I mean, dunking is one of the best pure forms of athleticism there is.
Right. No, because I think the dunk contest is really on the border of being obscure. We see NFL players talk about the Pro Bowl, you have how many Pro Bowl appearances, but then for them it's not really an achievement because it's such an afterthought. It's before Super Bowl. You want to
Yeah.
be in the Super Bowl, not
Not in the Pro Bowl.
Not in the Pro Bowl. So we don't. The NBA doesn't want it. These festivities to be like that. But then it's close to becoming that if they don't make some adjustments. Listen to a lot of the people because a lot of people have good ideas about how to fix this All-Star game too. So I hope they do listen to those
So
people.
pro dunkers, we're
Pro
in agreement.
dunkers, yeah, that's
Same.
I think that's the immediate way to fix it.
Yes. But this brings us now to the event, the side event, which I think has the most hope among all these side events. And I'm talking about the 3-point shootout.
It's their new gem.
Yes.
Before I think Kenny Smith and Reggie Miller kept saying it over the broadcast. This is the new dunk contest. This is what people want to see, and I can't blame him. Honestly, as a fan, I want to watch the 3-point contest.
Yes.
It's really exciting.
Same. So first of all, Mok, we'd like to congratulate Damian Lillard, but I think JJ Redick said it best that Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu came out as winners from that Steph versus
The
Sabrina
highlight
challenge.
of the whole weekend,
Yes.
I think, was the Steph versus Sabrina. Because I think everyone was talking about it. It got the buzz going even before Friday there, Saturday here. When it was the Rising Stars Challenge, they were already promoting it a lot, and you kept wondering, Sabrina can do it. They established that she was gonna shoot from the NBA 3-point line.
She was capable.
And she got 26, which would have advanced her in the finals of the actual 3-point
Right,
shootout.
right.
So she did her job, and it was really exciting because she got hot right away. She shot, I think, her first 7, and from there you're like, oh my god, she's gonna give Steph a run for his money because
For a while now.
for a while,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Steph, we all know Steph. He's the best shooter ever, greatest shooter. But then when she got to 26, I think there was like a little like angst from the people who either bet on Steph or were rooting for Steph. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
For someone who was cold, didn't have a lot of practice, wasn't like he was part of the 3-point shootout. That was a lot of points, but he ended up winning on the last ball, I might say. I think he added a little drama to that. But that was a success.
Yeah.
Like, it got to show, I think the equality part is definitely important.
Check.
How people say that, the WNBA is great, these players are great, but then, at an NBA level.
Because you know what, Mook? What's the most translatable skill between women hoopers and men hoopers? It's shooting.
It's shooting.
It's shooting.
And
I mean,
that's what she said.
athleticism-wise, no.
Yeah,
It's no
no.
comparison.
Yeah.
Physicality, no comparison. But shooting, I mean, like, that's one of the most basic requirements you have to have as a basketball
Yeah.
player. And it easily translates between the WNBA, the NBA, even to the college game.
Yep.
Which brings me to the idea that it's time to take the competition up a notch next year. You started with Steph versus Sabrina.
Yeah.
Why not make it Team NBA versus Team WNBA,
WNBA.
where you
Right.
have Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, Paige Beckers when she comes back,
Caitlin Clark,
Caitlin Clark
when she gets drafted.
when she gets obviously she's gonna get drafted. I mean, you put that together.
Right.
Who's to say that competition's not gonna be
I know.
the main event?
I'm such a fan of that idea when they thought about it right away, like a tag team, like Stephen Clay versus Sabrina and Caitlin Clark. So many permutations or teams they could do, and it's just really exciting because right now the 3-pointer has become like the most viable commodity of the NBA. Like, if you want views, which is, I think, the reason why Caitlin Clark is so fun to watch. She shoots from very
Steph
far in the college game. So she's box office. She's must watch. So for them to showcase that in the All-Star weekend against a Steph or a Damian Lillard or even Clay or Tyrese Halliburton, who joined the 3-point contest, would be such a great way to elevate the game, not just for the fans, not just for the people in the arena, but then just for everyone in the sport.
Right.
Because then it's like not just gender, but it's just really skill. Sabrina said it best: if you can shoot, you can shoot.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Again.
And for her to go up against the greatest shooter ever and almost win, made them sweat a little bit. Was definitely the highlight of that whole thing. I think JJ Redick agreed with that too. I think a lot of the analysts and broadcasters agreed with that. So yeah, we should have more of that next year, especially in San Francisco. I think that's a lock. I think we're gonna get that easily.
wouldn't Steph and Clay, the Splash Brothers of San Francisco,
Right.
want to give the fans the show? I mean, by inviting again WNBA
Yeah.
players, even college
I
hoopers.
would take it up a notch and even add in have some of the WNBA players join the skills competition.
True.
Because that's also something that has nothing to do with athleticism or anything. It's really just skill, dribbling, shooting,
Right.
agility, speed.
Right.
That's it. And you need that for both the WNBA and the NBA. So I think they should do that as well. They the skills challenge this year, they went with the teams. They have been doing this for a couple of years now. We saw Anthony It was a pretty interesting, set of teams. But then
Shooting
when
to
we
the
saw Anthony Edwards not take it seriously, and that's the end of that. The illusion of the All-Star weekend, which we'll get to, is effort. We want to see these people try.
Right.
But then when you see Anthony Edwards shoot with his left hand,
You know he's not taking it seriously.
you know he's not taking it seriously. And then, that begs the question, why are we watching? And that brings us, to the main problem.
Or
All-Star.
or can I just segue into this, Mook?
Go ahead.
One more side event that I think it's kind of overlooked, but shows, a little bit more potential than the dunk contest. The celebrity game. You had NFL players ball out in that
Yeah.
game. CJ Stroud, player of the game.
Mike-
Puka Nakua of the
Yeah.
LA Rams. Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons played really well.
He did play really well as a 6'2" power forward. But anyway, like, we're talking about professional athletes. Growing up, you see these guys in high school, they run track, they play basketball,
They play baseball,
football,
right.
baseball. So, you know what? For this event, how about take away the actors, take away the rappers? You'd want to see guys in Major League Baseball or guys, in the NFL, more
Yeah.
guys from, other professional leagues show their stuff on the court.
Because I think basketball is like one of the sports for professional athletes that they did play. If you're an athlete starting, especially in the States, basketball is like you grew up watching basketball,
Yeah.
so then you're gonna want to join. You're gonna want to learn how. And you're right. Like Micah Parsons played extremely well. CJ Stroud also, he was talking a lot before the game, saying that he was varsity in high school before he started playing football and everything, and then he showed it. He was really good. So yeah, I like that idea of just not even just professional athletes now, but even former athletes. They used to do that also in
Could
the
be.
celebrity game, which can also happen in the 3-point contest. Former, like, I wouldn't mind seeing Ray Allen back. A lot of the marksmen from 3-pointers who I'm pretty sure have not lost anything.
Yeah.
If they were called up by the NBA to participate in the 3-point contest, I think they would practice, the hell out of it.
I mean, the last skill to go is shooting. Like, the first one to go is your legs.
Yeah.
Right? But the last thing to go is your hands. So, again, former athletes, you name it. There's still a lot of potential left for these
Right.
side events.
Yeah.
But, okay, enough with that. Mok, you were earlier, before I cut into you, you were talking about effort. How we wanted to see guys at least try.
Yeah.
Try.
I think it started with the Rising Stars. The Rising Stars was a fun event when I was growing up. I liked watching Kyrie Irving. I liked watching Dion Waiters during that one.
Oh, yeah. That was nice.
Rising Stars Challenge. Go up against. I think that was Tim Hardaway. He was up against like shooting. So it was fun. But then we saw it right away during that Rising Stars Challenge, how, the effort or lack of trying might be a factor with these players. Like, it's fun to see them having fun, I guess, always smiling, joking around with their peers, but at the same time, like, watching it objectively was pretty boring. And that's the worst thing you can say about a sport. Boring. So that's where it started, I think. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe there is like an inherent problem already with these players about, treating this All-Star game as like something they have to get over with, and then they'll have like a 5-day break before the
Yes.
season starts again.
I mean, it's like even Anthony Edwards said it. He had a quote where he's saying like, you know what, we're on break, we're on vacation.
Yeah.
So no one's gonna take the game seriously. You wouldn't want to do your job while you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Right? And mind you, Mook, when you get a score of over 300 points in a basketball game, that's not basketball. That is the farthest thing from basketball.
I think if you're watching it from a distance, you're like, wow, they reached 200 points, amazing. But then you watch the actual whole game. And I did, the All-Star, I watched the third quarter because I was like, maybe it's halftime. The West might come back, and then still nothing. I was like, all right, if they're not gonna try, then I'm not gonna watch. I think David Aldridge was the one who also said that. If they're not gonna try, we're not gonna watch. It's
He
as
said
simple
it's
as that.
irredeemable.
Mhm.
Like, you know what
Yeah.
the problem is, but you're not in a hurry to solve it anyways.
Yeah. And it's tough because how do you tell the best players in your league to, give a little more effort when in their minds they're thinking, after this we're done. I'm going to Cabo, I'm going to Cancun for the next 3 days. I'm gonna relax, spend time with my family. It's hard. It's hard for them to get out of that mindset. And I can't believe we're saying that since the All-Star game has been there for so long.
Yeah.
Now it's
Since
only,
the 50s.
I know, but then it's only become an issue now. But then, just do your job, I think, which is a problem with some of these players. They the issue this year with the games limit for the awards and all of that was an issue. Players don't want to play the minimum amount of games because they want to rest. They want to, when they're injured. But at the same time, but players from before played almost every game, showed up every night. And they did show up for this All-Star game, but then they gave their least amount of attention to it, which, as a viewer, it's pretty sad to watch, your favorite players just.
But from the
mail it
player's
in.
perspective, I mean, the money bag gets bigger.
Mhm.
Your self-preservation kicks
Right.
in. Like, I wouldn't want to, put myself for extra risk.
Right.
But talking about how seemingly mundane the All-Star game is, Mo, it kind of reminds me of the same problem that the NFL went with the Pro Bowl. Like, ever since 2007, I remember Sean Taylor just delivering a crunching hit in the Pro Bowl, huh? Pro Bowl, no incentives. He just leveled the guy. But since then, it was, okay, here's another Pro Bowl, because the NFL used to host it in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Who would take things seriously in Hawaii? You're by the beach, sunshine and everything.
You're on vacation. A lot of those players are already on vacation.
You're expecting NFL players to literally ram into each other? No.
No.
So for years, Mok, the NFL Pro Bowl just, like, fans were appalled because it would be some of the softest tackles.
Yeah.
That's not football, right?
not.
I mean, you wouldn't. You come to football to see a car crash literally happen in front of your eyes. So what the NFL did was, you know what, screw it. The players are not even tackling hard. They're not playing hard. So let's issue the game. So what they did was they transformed Pro Bowl weekend into a spectacle made up of mini events. So we have Team NFC, Team AFC, and then we play,
They're mini games.
lots of mini games. There's an obstacle course.
Yeah.
There's a flag football game, and then we win by cumulative points.
Right.
Which brings me to the idea that, hey, you know what? Why can't the NBA take a page off the NFL and, okay, instead of having one big major dud of an all-star game where you have the 12 competitors from the East and West square off, why not make it into a mini tournament where, on one hand, you have your roster of 12, right? For the East and for the West. Why not divide that by 4 teams, free on each team for a 3x3 competition?
Right.
So immediately you have the 2 teams advance per bracket, automatic semis,
Right.
and then you have the right to represent your conference. So the more simultaneous games that are happening,
Yeah.
fans are gonna, get interested in, catching up with all of those games. And also Tracy McGrady gave the idea na, so there's 3x3, that's 1. Why not straight up 101 King of the
Hill.
Rock?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I like that idea better, They should incorporate that for All-Star Saturday night. I think the King of the Hill type tournament with one-on-one, because these NBA players have, I mean, for example, let's take Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers ever. If you put him in King of the Hill 3 max dribble competition, I'm gonna watch that, because then these people can score no matter who's defending them. But then if you match them up together, like if you see Paul George versus KD just one-on-one, who wouldn't want to see that? Or Steph versus Jalen Brunson.
Or even guys who are underrated, who are buckets. Like they're pure hoopers who just want to score. Like guys like Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
You put him in a one-on-one tournament.
Right.
Like you would want to give a good showing of yourself in
Yeah.
that type of setup.
Yeah. Those types of, tournaments with the 3-on-3, I think will immediately solve the competition problem that they have. Because I think if you're just playing 3-on-3, that will immediately heighten everyone, because then you're going to be forced to defend, right? It's not like 5-on-5 where you can switch and everything. No, it's 3-on-3.
And you wouldn't have upwards of 200
Schemes.
scores.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
There's gonna be
21 is 21.
21. Yeah, 21. That's it. Twos and threes. That's it. First to 21. And it'll solve time problem. It'll solve a lot of the effort, the aggressive style. The last time we saw an aggressive All-Star game was the year Kobe passed. That was when the first time they made the new rules with the Elam ending and everything. That was really fun. But then after that, wala. They went back to pacing the whole game, not really paying attention anymore, just having fun. But then the All-Stars did have fun before, but made sure it was an interesting game. Kobe would have never been down 30 points and would have been okay with it. He would have kept defending, would have kept scoring, until just to make it something that people want to watch, not just 200 points versus 183 points.
That's why, like, if it's 3x3 or 1v1, you're immediately more engaged. Because you're right in the game. But, okay, if we revert back to the 5-on-5, like, if you're an all-star reserve, hey, I'm just waiting for my 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here on the bench.
Yeah.
Right? If I get called up, great. It's like, I'm just gonna work up a sweat,
Yeah.
hit a few shots.
Yeah.
So, you're not really into it. But if it's 3x3, 1v1, hey, it's on you.
Right.
It's on you immediately to perform well.
Yeah, I think that's gonna fix a lot of things in terms of just competitive wise, which will solve everything. If the players, care about playing, then everyone else will. And the 3-on-3 is the perfect. I think people say 3-on-3 is like the purest way of playing basketball. There's truth in that, I guess, because of how they move. But then, NBA players, we don't see NBA players play 3-on-3.
Yeah, that's why it's gonna be a novelty for them.
Right, it's gonna be something they have to learn on the fly, But then you're with all-star teammates, so that's gonna be fun to watch.
Not big free rules, FIBA rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you go out when you,
Every time the ball goes down, take it
you
out.
have to take it out. Yeah. I think for me, the one thing I think that possibly might fix the All-Star game, like the All-Star game mismo, would just, get it out of the way. I think we should try a USA versus the world teams.
That too.
Because I think that would immediately up the stakes of everything. Because, we've talked about international players dominating, individual awards. They have been. And because I think even now, the top four guys who are leading the MVP race are all foreign players. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is Canadian.
Yeah.
So they can't even claim. You have to look for Jason Tatum at number 5 to find the first American player. So it's gonna be so interesting because then you have Shea, Luka, Embiid, and Jokic on one team. Add Sabonis, add Jamal Murray, and then you have the USA players who
Right.
we all know can, they still have very big names. They still have KD, LeBron, Steph. But then you add the sense of pride to it.
Yes.
Americans are very proud.
I mean, the NBA champs call themselves the world,
Yeah, right?
unquote, world
Exactly.
champ. So
Exactly.
brings a whole different level
That's
to
why.
it.
So when you up the stakes like that, when you're talking about, representing your country, which a lot of these players still care about, still want to do, then it becomes, then that will, I think, make the competition better. I think the level of intensity and the effort will rise exponentially, I think, because, if you're a USA player, you don't want to prove everyone right that international, like the world has taken over basketball, which is an American sport.
Yeah.
So we saw that in the most recent Olympics, right? Like Team USA got off to a really bad start in their standards, but then they got it together and they beat France, they beat everyone, and they still won. So I just want them to see them lock in like that again, especially for All-Star Weekend and especially for the All-Star Game.
So you guys heard it. Mookie and I have some fresh ideas, new suggestions, which we hope that the NBA would listen to, because bottom line of this, Mook, is as a league, as a global brand, you owe it to your fans.
Yes, that's the
I
most
mean,
important.
the fans have been displeased, to say the least, over the past years about All-Star weekend in general, the All-Star game. So as a league, as a brand, you owe it to your fans to deliver better basketball, better content for them.
I mean, the All-Star Weekend is for the fans. Like, you want to see the collection of everyone who's doing well this season play with and against each other.
Yeah.
But then it hasn't been like that since so long.
So hopefully we do see some changes.
Right.
Soon, by next year. The whole All-Star weekend needs, rejuvenation, to say the least. So fingers crossed, and we hope to see something new, something better in the All-Star weekend.
Adam
to come.
Silver, take notes.
Take notes, please. All right, but here's something, Mook, up next, where every Filipino fan is going to be locked in and tuned in tonight, because Mookie and I, when we come back, we are going to be previewing the February window of the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers up next when we return.
Time out. RK Sports continues right after this.
Palalimin ang kamalayan sa mga isyong napapanahon. Makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang simbahang lingkod ng bayan. Ang social-political apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan.
All right, guys, we are live here back on RK Sports, where earlier you heard Mookie and I give our ideas, suggestions to improve and rejuvenate the NBA All-Star Weekend. But now, sama-sama na po tayo bilang isang bansa, because mamayang gabi po ang ating Gilas Pilipinas ay sasabak na naman sa aksyon, because the February window of the FIBA Asia Cup 2025 qualifiers will begin for our national team on the road as they face Hong Kong in Hong Kong at 8 p.m. Live po yan mamaya. And then on February 25 on Sunday, Gilas Pilipinas returns back to the Philippines to face Taiwan, Chinese Taipei, in Ultra. So, okay, Mook, just for the information of our listeners right now. So, how did Gilas Pilipinas end up being drawn with Taiwan and Hong Kong? So, we were drawn in Group B along with Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, and New Zealand in the qualifiers that will be played across 3 windows po yan. So, there's February 2024, November 2024, and February 2025 in a home and away format. So, what's important here? Gilas will look to finish in the top 2 of Group B after 6 games to join their counterparts in the 5 other groups, clinching a direct berth to the FIBA Asia Cup, the Championship of Asia, in 2025. So, Gilas Pilipinas, main goal for us is to improve on our performance in 2022, where we finished 9th in Jakarta, Indonesia, in that recent FIBA Asia, which was won by eventual champion Australia, right? So, Mookie, let's go now to the build-up of Gilas Pilipinas for the February window. So, Gilas had a closed-door camp at the Inspire Academy in Laguna before coming back to the Ultra last February 19 for an open practice, which, again, I have to applaud Coach Tim Cone for this initiative. I mean, he's been in the Philippines for a lifetime already, and he understands Filipino psyche, Filipino culture better than any other foreign coach that there is. So, I applaud him for the effort of bringing the national team closer to the fans, closer to the hearts of Filipinos.
Which I think they really need. They need the good publicity right now for Gilas. You know, every time Gilas plays, they're always on the hot seat, and I think no one's on a hotter seat than whoever coaches Gilas at that particular time. You know, the players change, but the coaches are always the people who are held accountable. And it's good for Tim Cohn to always, look at it in a perspective where we have to make these Filipinos happy. And by doing that, you want to be transparent to them. You have to show them your team.
Yeah.
How they practice, how they play with each other, and it's good for him to always have. He's been doing this I think he did this also for the Asian Games, so it's a good practice. I hope he keeps doing it, and just for the fans to see, a lot of these players up close and personal,
Right.
So very fruitful lead up to this first window for the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers.
So again, Coach Tim Cohn, the most logical choice, being assigned by the SBP to coach Gilas Pilipinas for the foreseeable future. So we're coming off the Asian Games Championship, and I was going over some interview quotes of Tim Cohn, Mok, and there are two key pillars of his system. Number one is defense. Number two is chemistry. Here's a quote that I got from the Inquirer, and I want you to share your thoughts about it. So Tim Cohn said, "We're going to be a team that moves the ball a lot, probably more than people would want us to. In the meantime, we want guys to be really dedicated on the defensive side. It's not something taken as seriously as it was in the past, and I think that could be a difference maker for our team." Which is kind of difficult because our front line will be thin on bigs heading into the Hong Kong game because number one, we don't have our main defensive big AJ Edu, who suffered a meniscus
Bummer.
tear.
Yeah.
Junmar sustained a calf injury during the PBA
Rest.
finals.
Yeah.
So, are you confident that our rim protection will rely heavily on Kai Soto,
Soto.
and a 37-year-old Japet Aguilar?
When you add add this age, it doesn't look good for Japet. But he's perfectly capable, at least for these two teams. We're up against to anchor that defense along with Kai. But we talked about this, I think, a few shows ago about the composition of this roster. They're pretty tall, so I think defensive wise they'll be fine. You still have Carl Tamayo, you still have Jimmy Malonzo, who are all if not big men per se, stretch guys who can guard 1 through 4. In Tamayo's case, he can guard 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So I think he'll have that. Coach Tim will have defense. I think during this first window for sure. And Kai has gotten better on defense. We saw glimpses of it in the World Cup. We saw him hold his own against Karl Anthony Towns, against the bigs of China. We saw him, battle. And I think if you're Tim Cohn, if you're missing, the presence that is Junmar Fajardo, it's nice to see that you have a Kai Soto.
Right.
You have Japet, who is his old reliable in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He plugged Japet into that Asian Games roster, and he made a lot of great plays on defense as well. So in terms of defense, I think Tim Cohn will be very satisfied.
Plus, you have your perimeter stopper in Chris Newsome
And Scotty Thompson.
and Scotty Thompson.
Yeah.
So at least they can mitigate the absence
Yeah.
of Junmar and AJ
Yeah.
Edu.
Really sad that we won't get to see AJ Edu again though. He played extremely well during the World Cup. I would love to see him in more Gilas windows.
Same.
I think he needs to be in more Gilas windows. Like Kevin Kiambao, like Carl Tamayo, we need to see these younger up and coming players start to play for the national team so that they get a feel of it. They know how to play international basketball. Not just how Filipinos play, but then, how the rest of the world plays.
Although I'm kind of getting worried about AJ Edu because this isn't the first knee injury he's had.
Yeah,
I mean, when he was playing for, I think, University of Toledo, the
Yeah.
States, he suffered at least two
Two.
ACL or
Yeah.
MCL injuries. So hopefully he heals well and rehabs
Yeah.
well from the injury. But in terms of, you lose something whenever you get
Yeah.
injured, right? So I don't know, like hopefully AJ Edu can, it can be built back the right way. I'm not sure how to put it into the right words.
I think he can get back to the level he was in the World Cup, which is I think pretty decent. And if you play like that in Gilas, you'll keep coming back. 'Cause
Right.
people, no matter who is coaching Gilas, they'll want you on that team if you play like that. So, get well soon, AJ Edu. I hope, he gets to play the next window at least. Hopefully he heals by then. But, looking at this roster right now and looking forward to tonight's game, I think we'll have it on lock
Right.
tonight.
Right. If it means anything for us, the last time we faced Hong Kong, we blew them out by 51.
Yeah.
So
That's why.
I mean, if that gives us confidence by some measure, then I'll roll with it.
Yeah.
However, okay, Mook, we covered the defense part. Let's go over to the chemistry part that
Yeah.
Coach Tim also mentioned. Now, again, the core of this Gilas unit comes from the same Asian Games
Yeah,
roster,
a lot.
essentially, right?
lot.
Essentially, because it's no secret that Tim Cone has a long-term vision for the Gilas unit. He's preparing the squad for the long haul, and that includes the 2027 FIBA World Cup in Qatar, and hopefully the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And this is what struck me, Mook, ha? Coach Tim was being asked which national team model are you following? Are you constructing this team similar to? And here's what he said. Watching some of the programs around the world, Iran is one of our primary examples. So Coach Tim was alluding to the Iran squad who maintained Hamed Haddadi at its core, won free FIBA Asian
Dominated.
Championships
Yeah, let's
in
call
a
it what it is.
10-year span.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's the thing, Mok. Iran doesn't have the same depth as Gilas. What I mean is, they don't have a pool of like 30 plus
I agree.
players.
Yeah, I agree.
It was only, for me, from my recollection, Hamed Haddadi, Arsalan Kazemi, Samad Kabarami,
Barami, yeah.
Mehdi Kamrani at the point. And it was always those guys. So, with Coach Tim, he was talking about, you know what, this Gilas pool is only a 12 to 13 man unit. But these guys know how to win together already.
Yeah.
And that's what counts.
I love that he's giving importance to chemistry. I think with the short Reyes-led teams, that's what lacked a lot of the times. It was a lot of who's available, who can we get them on time, can they practice even just for one practice session, and that's not the way to construct a team. That's not the way to build a team. So I'm very happy that he's emphasizing that chemistry. But then you're right. You look down this roster, a lot of these players have played with each other before. If not, all of them have played with each other before in some capacity. So when your team is familiar with each other and they've had experience playing with one another, then I think that translates right away to winning.
Yes.
Does it not? Because you're right. We saw Iran dominate for that extended period amount of time because of the core players that they had.
Yeah.
You look at Argentina a few years during the 2000s where Manu Ginobili talked about growing up with Andres Nocioni all his life
Yes.
in the national team. So when they all got to that Olympic stage, they were all friends. They knew how to play. They knew where they were gonna be all the time on the court, and that's what led them to win. So the continuity of rosters hasn't been an importance for Gilas, but it should have been ever since 2014 when we first made our mark in the World Cup in Spain.
Right.
So it's good that we have a coach that's emphasizing that importance now again. So that's why I'm not really worried. This is a really capable roster of people who can dominate on their own, but at the same time, have played with each other for a lot of Gilas stints. I can't wait to see Carl Tamayo and Kevin Kiambao play again together.
Most definitely.
It's been I don't know if they played together in if they've seen each other just play with each other random 5-on-5s, but it's been so long since I've seen both of them play competitively on the same team. So I can't wait to watch that duo later. And, just to see Kai and Dwight, who have just been their young cornerstones for the past few windows. They've always been available. Dwight is essential to Gilas. I think Kai Soto is also definitely essential. So when you have those young foundations, and I hope that they keep getting called back, is important for the long run, like you say, because we want to qualify for the Olympics. We want to qualify for the World Cup in Qatar. So hopefully that right path and Coach Tim's vision can be fulfilled.
Like, I remember, Mok, like a few years ago, Chot Reyes released this 23 for 2023 pool.
Yeah.
How many of those players ended up representing Gilas in successive FIBA windows? You can count on your fingers how many players did that. So, you're right, no, Mok. It's not about putting up, hey, we have a 35-man pool.
Yeah.
But you're only gonna pick how many or even play like what, 8 of those
8.
guys, 10 of those guys. So again, I like how Coach Tim said in his previous interviews how we're gonna use this unit for the first window, build up from that, use that for the second window, and so on and so forth.
Add, and then if I think the pool is the pool. I'm pretty sure SBP has a pool of players that are available or should be available, but then I don't think you should remove anyone from that list. You can only add, because like the talent in the Philippines is
knock on wood, injury happens.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like add to replace an injured player or something like that, because it sucks for a player to be part of a Gila stint one window and then the next window not even considered, like not even getting a phone call to practice. Like, doesn't make sense really, because you want continuity, especially for a national team who definitely has the talent to compete, definitely has the motivation to want to win, but then the chemistry problem is always the thing that gets us. And we saw in the Asian Games how much they bonded over those really, really good wins. And we see maybe 6 or 7 players present here in the same roster for this window. So that momentum from the Asian Games will definitely rub off the people who weren't a part of that. And that's a good sign for Coach Tim if that's the way that team wants to go.
Right. And you can see, I can see some parallelisms between us and that Iran model.
Yeah.
Hamed Haddadi at your main man in the middle. Junmar can be productive at least in Asia.
In Asia, definitely.
Till his late 30s. I'm confident of that. You have your wings. They had Kazemi and Barami. We have Dwight Ramos, Kevin Kembao, even Carl Tamayo. Your guards are solid. You have CJ. Scotty Thompson. And then on top of that, you add your Justin Brownlee. So just maintain that for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Just 5 years.
I agree. Because like just our pool itself is just so full of talent. But then when the lineups when the rosters are finalized and everything, you see a collection of people who aren't familiar with each other's games, and that's when it all falls apart. I think that was the main problem for the World Cup.
Exactly.
A lot of these people haven't played with each other for so long. I don't think the B League players on that roster played with a lot of these, PBA players in a long time, and I'm pretty sure they're all friends. But playing with each other is a different type of friendship, at least, because you have to know how they improved, how they changed the game, because a lot of the B League players changed their games a lot to fit the Japanese style of play. So when they came back for the World Cup, it was a lot of clashing styles, clashing methods, and that's not good, especially with the limited practice time. So I can't wait to watch over this weekend how this Gilas team under Coach Tim Cohn gels with each other and showcases how the plan of Tim Cohn is a good plan, and it's the start of improving like just the whole Gilas team play as a whole.
Mind you, Mok, 2027 World Cup and 2028 Olympics. Before you know it, we're approaching that.
We have to
timeline.
qualify. Yeah.
Right. So again, kudos to Coach Tim and his coaching staff for again preparing us for the long haul. So, okay, Mook, before we end, let's just give a quick preview of our upcoming game. So, tonight, Hong Kong, their main guy is Duncan Reed, who played for the Bay Area Dragons. I'm confident at least our
Tim
power
Cone is
forward
very
matchup.
Tim Cone is very familiar with the Bay Area Dragons, so I think he'll be fine.
So, confident with the W tonight.
Confident with the W.
Okay, Hong Kong, we're taking that. Taiwan, they have 3 guys who have listed who are double-digit scorers who played in the Asian Games. So they have Ying Chun Chen, 14 a game, Will Artino, 15 a game, and Cheng Liu, averaging 17 a game. However, Taiwan will be going up against New Zealand tonight in Taipei. So, they're gonna be facing a heavyweight tonight, and we're gonna be facing them at home on Sunday. So, okay.
I think Taiwan looks at us as a heavyweight too. So I think we'll be the favorites too on Sunday, no doubt.
Okay, because you gotta defend home turf.
Yeah.
All right. So before we end, Mook, Big Blue shout out to whom?
I just want to give a shout out to the AMFT. They have a game on Sunday against UST
Okay.
at 4:30 p.m. in UP. So shout out to them. Hope you guys can watch. I'll catch that game this time live at 4:30. So see you guys there.
Okay, and that does it for this episode of Radyo Katipunan Sports. Thank you so much to Teo and the hardworking production team of The Voice of the Blue Eagle. And thank you, as always, to my co-anchor, Mookie B. And most of all, thank you, our Blue Eagle Nation, for tuning in and supporting Loyola Heights' #1 sports radio show. Guys, we'll be back here in the studio live next week. Once again, this is Anthony saying goodbye, one big fight, and see you again soon.
Thanks,
only here
guys.
on Radyo Katipunan. Peace. See you.
Welcome to RK Sports, where we take you right into the action with the highlights, insights, and analysis of the sports scene in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. With your hosts, Anthony Perez and Mookie Borja. Katipunan. Game on.